Hello and welcome. You're watching the Trending Burning Question with me, Shaban Sen. Ladies and gentlemen, at the UNGA, opposition parties in India expected that India would essentially adopt a resolution which did not call out Hamas, which did not condemn the barbarity that the world witnessed on 7th of October when innocent Israelis were maimed, abducted. Remember, 220 Israelis are still in captivity of the Hamas. Israel carries out an all-out invasion. In fact, a military operation is already underway, but there is a growing pressure. Many say that there should be a ceasefire agreement that should be carried out, but Israel has clearly said that there is no question of any sort of ceasefire at this point in time, and they say that this military operation is only aimed at finishing off Hamas. Earlier in the day, we also spoke to Israel Prime Minister's office to find out what exactly are the options available before Israel, given the fact that we see anti-Semitism on the rise, and secondly, no consensus among the Arab nations too. Is there more pressure on Israel? Listen into what the Prime Minister Office's spokesperson, Tal Henrich, had to tell us earlier in the day, and then we begin the Trending Burning Question. Several quarters indicating that perhaps Israel should move in for some sort of a ceasefire. Do you believe that it could happen, or that is completely out of question? And how exactly would you then convince the world right now that this is perhaps the most appropriate response to what we saw on 7th of October?
You see, a ceasefire right now is not negotiable. It's not something that we even consider, because we defined the goal of this operation in Gaza as to bring to the dismantlement of Hamas. We have decided as a nation that we can no longer live next to this murderous terror enclave that keeps firing missiles at us. Did you know that over 8,000 rockets have been fired at Israeli territory in 24 days? And that is after they massacred us and butchered us and burned people and turned them into ashes and raped women and so on October 7th. We can no longer live next to this monster called Hamas. And this is the reason why we're acting in Gaza right now. So we will finish the operation. It's a war, again, that we didn't start and we didn't want. We were dragged into it by Hamas. Once our military and government leadership will decide that the goal has been accomplished. This is why we are acting right now in Gaza.
On the Trending Burning Question tonight, joining me is Ambassador Mahesh Sachdev. Tuhin Sira of the Bharatiya Janata Party, representing the Congress Party, is Shyam Prasad Meka. Ambassador Sachdev, I want to begin by asking you, because there appears to be a hectic parley that is going on, at least within the opposition parties, that look here, perhaps India should have responded in a different manner at the United Nations General Assembly. Now, in particular, is a resolution that was drafted by 22 Arab nations, and that resolution was called Immediate, Durable and Sustained Humanitarian Truce Leading to a Cessation of Hostilities. This was a resolution where Australia, Canada, Germany, Japan, Ukraine, as well as India abstained from. Many would say that this was perhaps the most appropriate thing to do for two reasons. One, the fact that it does not condemn Hamas. Second, it makes no mention of Hamas to begin with. And that's exactly why we've been saying that though it may have been a diplomatic tightrope walking that India has done, but the most appropriate response.
Thank you for inviting me. And I believe that what we have done is commensurate with our position. And not only in this particular case, but in case of terrorism that we have faced ourselves. How would it appear if somebody told us that after Pulwama, we should have had a ceasefire? We observed ceasefire of sort in similar situation after Bombay attack. With what result? Did it stop anything? No. It continued the terrorism against India continued. In fact, they were abated. So I think what we have done is to abstain, which is the right thing to do. Hamas should have been mentioned, but for political correctness, the sponsors of the resolution didn't want to either mention Hamas or condemn its actions. This is something which causes belly of this particular sequence of events, and starting point has to be mentioned. So our abstaining on it is the least that we could have done.
Shyam Prasad Mekha, I want to take this question to you because the Congress party today, we see Sonia Gandhi in an editorial that has been penned by her. She's basically saying she's heavily critical of Israel's unprecedented military response. Many would say that this is not unprecedented on two counts. One, just imagine the situation. In Gaza, what was supposed to be a civilian infrastructure was largely used by a terrorist group called the Hamas to launch an attack on the Israelis. Second, as far as the charter of the Hamas is concerned, that in itself is very clear that they do not want Israel to even exist. So what do you expect a nation of just about 9 million people to really respond? In which manner would you have expected them to respond when they've already given an ultimatum asking the Gazans to leave? And perhaps the only way peace can prevail in a situation is that when you have a durable government in Gaza rather than a government that is run by a terrorist organization. Shyam Prasad Mekha. Can you hear me, Shyam Prasad Mekha? We seem to be having some trouble with connecting with Shyam Prasad Mekha. We'll try and reconnect with him. Tuin, if I can bring you in right now.
I am in.
Okay, I believe Shyam Prasad Mekha can hear me.
Yeah. Yes. See, Aishwarya. See, the problem is, look at the ticker you are running. You say opposition supports pro-Hamas resolution. How do you conclude that it is a pro-Hamas resolution? And wait a minute, let me finish my train of thought. After Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge's tweet and Sonia Ji's article today, I don't think we congressmen need to explain it anymore. We are very clear on what our stand is. And the government of India abstaining from the voting on this resolution, which is calling for a humanitarian ceasefire, is a clear violation of a clear contradiction of our own MEAS stand on 12th October. And what are we doing? See, the simple thing with folded hands, I request the ruling dispensation. Please stop playing domestic politics with international affairs. This is not good for this country. Please have some maturity. That is all we are requesting.
Shyam Prasad Mekha, let me just tell you a little bit more in detail rather than simply picking on the line that you've essentially said. And now there is a reason behind it. One, the CWC resolution, does it really condemn the terrorism inflicted by Hamas? Second, were there any Congress leader to have denounced the fact that you've had an ex-Hamas chief addressing a rally in Malappuram district in Kerala? Third, with regards to the fact that you would not see any Congress leader, or for that matter, anyone being upfront about the fact that you cannot perhaps deal with terrorism with a kid glove. And that's exactly what Israel is doing.
See, okay, let me answer your all 3 points, point by point. The question is, the third question first. See, who is asking for asking to deal with terrorism with kid gloves? Nobody is asking. if that is the bandwidth that the BJP has, and if they think this is asking for treating the terrorism with kid gloves, then they are wrong. Your second question also is related. See, first of all, did India declared Hamas as a terrorist organization? What is our MEA's stand on 12th October? Come on, don't play these divisive politics and try to drive.
Now, can I just, you want the MEA's response. Shyam Prasad Mekka, if I just have to take you through the resolution and India's position on this matter, I'm not too sure whether you've actually gone through what India's position on this entire matter was and what India had to say. Now, let me just tell you this. Shyam Prasad Mekka, because I understand, I do not believe in rhetoric. I believe in putting out facts, because if that's a question that you have posed, perhaps the Bharatiya Janata Party will also put out. But I'm just talking about what is available in the public domain. And I'm assuming, Shyam Prasad Mekka, as a learned spokesperson of the party, you must have gone through this. Because this is what, if I'm not wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, Tuhin Sinha would also be in a better position to correct me. Now, this is what India says. In a world where differences and disputes should be resolved by dialogue, this august body should be deeply concerned at the recourse of violence. Violence as a means to achieve political objectives damages indiscriminately and does not pave the way for a durable solution. It goes on to say terror attacks on Israel on the 7th of October was shocking, deserve condemnation, calls for an immediate and unconditional release of the hostages, describes terrorism as a malignancy and knows no border, nationality or race. So we're very clear as far as Hamas is concerned. One of the reasons why we did not adopt the resolution that was drafted by the 22 Arab nations, because as Ambassador Sajdev was pointing out, it was an attempt to do some fine balancing to be politically correct. But I don't understand what is the political correctness in the fact that you will not call out an organization like the Hamas.
Yeah, did the Indian government declare Hamas as a terrorist organization? Correct me. Did they? See, that is what is the stand of India. Currently,
do you believe Tuhin Sinha?
No, wait a minute. Okay. Wait a minute. It is easy to get emotional.
You are asking a question, or you want an answer to that question, or you want to continue?
No. Let me finish my point.
No, since you paused after asking that question, I thought that it is better we give you the answer.
No. Let me finish 10 seconds.
If that's a question that you want to ask and continue, please go ahead, Shyam Prasad Mekka, and then I'll ask Tuhin Sinha to respond. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's easy to talk about terrorism and get emotional. See, terrorism should be condemned everywhere. But we are dealing with different issues, and we should know the depth of the issue, what is happening. The continuous persecution of the Palestinians and by the extreme elements of Palestine, by organizations like Hamas, to the persecution of the Israelis. These are both the issues we need to solve and ensure a peaceful coexistence of Palestine as well as Israel. That should be our stand, rather than taking any stand for appeasing or doing vote bank politics in the domestic sector.
Okay. Tuhin Sinha, I want to bring in right now. You've heard Ambassador Sajdev. You've heard Shyam Prasad Mekka of the Congress party raising a question that did the Indian government really declare that Hamas is a terrorist organization? My good friend Mr. Mekka must realize that as far as Indian government's position on this matter is concerned, it's a principled position, a position that was also taken by the Congress party, just to remind him. But perhaps Tuhin Sinha, you would like to respond to that.
Good evening, Shravan. Good evening, everybody. We really enjoy it when the Congress party taunts us and keeps asking us, why don't you declare Hamas as a terror organization? You would recall they were doing the same for PFI. They kept taunting us, they kept provoking us. When are you banning PFI? When we banned PFI, did Congress openly support it? So all of these things follow a due process. I can assure you that India was the first country to unequivocally condemn this as an act of terror, which unfortunately none of the opposition parties have had the courage to do till now. And today the situation is far more scary than it was 2 weeks ago, because you have opposition parties gradually coming out of their closets. So Shafirul Rahman Burq, And a member of parliament of the Samajwadi Party today has openly endorsed the Hamas. A few days ago, the Speaker of the Kerala Assembly called it a resistance movement. And I think if you very carefully prune the contents of the letter of Sonia Gandhi, it is about time, within a matter of time, they also will toe an open Hamas line. There are two fundamental problems with which we have with the letter of Sonia Gandhi. One, there is no mention once again of the very casual mention of the word attack. Is an attempt to undermine the ferocity of this act of terror. Two, a ceasefire cannot be without a precursor, without an enabler, and which has to be the release of hostages. So at least, these parties which are supporting Palestine openly, and we also, India's support for Palestine remains intact. But India is unequivocal in its condemnation of terror. Number three, Sonia Gandhi makes a direct equivalence of Israel with Hamas, which is very mischievous. You can't equate a nation, Israel, with a terror entity which has usurped power in Palestine. So all of these things are very dangerous for the country. And, I think the way the opposition is behaving on this issue is very irresponsible. This is not the stated position of Indian government by any chance, nor is it the stated position of any of India's key allies globally. So the path that Congress is treading, probably either it is in a time warp or it has made up its mind to cater to a particular constituency, which is not in consonance with national interests.
Okay. I just want to give that final word to Ambassador Sachdev. Ambassador Sachdev, you've heard the political leaders making their point. Do you believe that there is a duplicity on the part of the government, as Shyam Prasad Mecca has been pointing out, that look here, Hamas has not been declared a terrorist organization. So where exactly is the principal position that you're talking about? Ambassador Sachdev, what's your take on this entire matter?
Firstly, we declare an outfit as a terrorist organization if it conducts terror acts against India. We didn't declare Al-Qaeda as terrorist organization. We didn't declare ISIS as a terrorist organization. We go by the UN declarations in this regard. And UN has not adopted any such resolution where Hamas has been declared a terrorist organization. At the same time, the very scale and barbarity of the Hamas act of October 7 need to be condemned unequivocally, which we have done. But if you notice, Prime Minister's statement issued after his talk on October 7 with the Israeli counterpart, it condemns the terrorist act without mentioning Hamas at that stage. But later on, on 12th, we have said that Hamas does not represent Palestine, which is exactly correct. And we don't equate the two. And therefore, Hamas is not representing the entire notion of independence of Palestine. And in any case, the act that Hamas has perpetrated was not exactly aimed at promoting the cause of Palestine, which is pretty sanctified by most of the humanity. Now, let me also add here, as an expert on Arabs and Middle East, that most countries in the Arab world do not support Hamas. Hamas has burnt its bridges with the Gulf countries, except Qatar. Hamas has no backing of Egypt, which is the only Arab neighbor that it has, because Egypt's previous government under Muslim Brotherhood was pro-Hamas, and that was overthrown. So to say that this resolution has been put forth, it's a cosmetic exercise, if I may. Within the Arab world themselves, there's not much love lost for Hamas and its actions.
Well, thank you very much, Ambassador Sajdev Tuinsina, as well as Sham Prasad Beka for joining us on the trending burning question. On the other side, the big debate with Editor-in-Chief Arnab Goswami.